I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, but here we are. My name is Jake, and I was married to a woman named Lisa for almost 5 years. On paper, everything looked perfect. We lived in a cozy two-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, had a solid group of friends, and even got a dog named Max, who, in hindsight, was probably the only sound decision I made during that time. But I guess that's what they call the calm before the storm. Over the last few months, I started picking up on some changes in Lisa. Little things at first. She'd come home late from work more often, her phone was glued to her hand, and I could swear she was hiding some messages. I brushed it off as her being busy with her job as a marketing manager. We all have our moments, right? But deep down, there was a nagging feeling that something wasn't right. Then came the red flags. One weekend, I came home from a long day at work, completely exhausted. I kicked off my shoes, ready to collapse on the couch, when I noticed Lisa's car was already in the driveway. Odd, I thought, since she'd told me she was going out for drinks with coworkers. I peeked through the window and saw her sitting on the couch, laughing. But it wasn't just that, it was the way she was laughing. I could see a glimmer of something in her eyes, something that was definitely not meant for me. To make matters worse, her best friend, Sarah, was with her. The two were practically glued to each other, sharing some kind of inside joke that left Lisa breathless with laughter. At that moment, annoyance turned into curiosity. I stepped inside, and as soon as Lisa spotted me, her smile faded just a fraction, but she quickly rejuvenated it. "Hey babe, I didn't expect you home so early," she called out, a little too chipper for my liking. "Yeah, just finished up some work early," I replied, trying to maintain my composure. I could feel my stomach knotting up. Something was definitely off. As the days passed, my suspicions grew. I overheard Lisa on the phone several times, whispering in hushed tones, and the way she would quickly end the call when I walked into the room felt like a slap in the face. I tried not to jump to conclusions, but my gut was screaming at me. I decided to do some digging. I might not be the world's best detective, but I was determined to find out the truth. One evening, as Lisa was showering, I grabbed her phone. I knew it was a breach of trust, but the curiosity was too intense. I unlocked her phone, and my heart sank when I saw messages that were far more intimate than what friends would share. Then I found them, text messages between Lisa and my best friend, Matt. The betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. They were planning to meet up, discussing moments that were clearly not meant for my eyes. "Can't wait to finally have some alone time with you," read one message. At that moment, I felt so many emotions swirling inside me: anger, heartbreak, disbelief. I put the phone down and sat there, staring at the wall, feeling completely lost. The reality of my wife cheating on me with my best friend was surreal. I never thought I'd be in this position, much less with the two people I trusted the most. I knew I had to confront Lisa, but the thought of it made my stomach churn. How do you even bring that up? "Hey honey, I found out you're cheating on me with my best friend." It all felt so absurd, but the moment of confrontation was coming and I was ready, or so I thought. The confrontation was inevitable, but the dread of it settled in my bones like lead. I spent the night tossing and turning, replaying the scenario in my head over and over again. How could I approach Lisa without losing my mind? I needed to stay calm, collected. After all, I was the one holding the evidence, and I had to be strategic. The next day, I couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. Lisa was uncharacteristically chipper, flitting around the house as if nothing was wrong. I wanted to scream at her, to force her to fess up, but I knew I had to wait for the right moment. I decided that dinner would be the time. We usually spent those evenings together, unwinding after long days. But this time I had a different agenda. That evening I prepared a simple meal, but my stomach was in knots. I set the table, trying to act normal while waiting for her to come home. When Lisa finally walked through the door, she greeted me with a kiss, and for a brief moment I almost forgot the betrayal. Almost. "Hey babe, you cooked," she said, smiling brightly. "You're the best." "Yeah, thought we could have a nice dinner together," I replied, forcing a smile. It's funny how the facade of normalcy could feel so fragile, like it might shatter with a single wrong word. We sat down to eat, and Lisa chatted about her day, completely oblivious to the storm brewing in my mind. I nodded along, but all I could think about was how I was going to drop the bombshell. I finally took a deep breath and decided to cut to the chase. Lisa, can we talk about something serious? I said, my voice steady but my heart racing. Sure, what's up? She asked, tilting her head slightly, her smile faltering just a bit. Are you seeing anyone else? I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral, though I could feel the fire in my chest building. Her reaction was immediate. The fork. She held froze midair as her expression shifted from surprise to mild confusion. What? Of course not, Jake. Why would you even ask that? I don't know, maybe because I saw some messages on your phone. I watched her face as the realization hit her, the color drained from her cheeks. You can't lie your way out of this, Lisa. I saw everything. Her expression twisted from confusion to anger in a split second. What are you talking about? You went through my phone. That's an invasion of privacy. Privacy? I shot back, my voice rising. You've been texting my best friend, Lisa. You're cheating on me. The silence that fell in the room was deafening. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. Finally, she found her voice, and it was laced with indignation. You're unbelievable. This is such a low blow, going through my things. I can't believe you'd think I'd cheat on you. Then explain the messages, I demanded, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. What do you have to say for yourself? Lisa's eyes narrowed, and I could see the gears turning in her mind as she scrambled for an excuse. Matt is just, he's a friend. We've been talking about work stuff. You know how stressful things are right now. Work stuff, really? I scoffed, disbelief palpable in my voice. You think I'm that stupid? Don't put words in my mouth, Jake. You're twisting everything. You're being paranoid. She shot back, her voice rising as well. The anger boiled within me, and just like that, the calm facade I'd been trying to maintain crumbled. This isn't paranoia, Lisa. I'm not some idiot who's going to ignore the truth right in front of me. You've betrayed me in the worst way possible. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I can't deal with this right now. You're making a huge mistake. And just like that, she stormed out of the dining room, leaving me sitting there, a mix of anger and despair swirling inside me. I had laid my cards on the table, but instead of an admission of guilt, I was met with denial and rage. I couldn't believe she was turning this around on me. After everything, it seemed she was more concerned about her precious privacy than the fact that she was cheating on me. As I sat there, I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. I knew I had some tough decisions to make. The emotional impact of her betrayal hit me like a freight train, and I felt a whirlwind of anger, sadness, and frustration surrounding me. But that was just the beginning. I wasn't going to let this slide. Not now. Not ever. So, what would I do next? How could I turn this all back into my favor? That was the question that kept me up as I paced the living room in the hours that followed. After that explosive confrontation with Lisa, my mind was racing. I felt like I had been blindsided, but deep down, I knew the betrayal was there all along. I couldn't let her get away with this. This was more than just an affair. It was a betrayal of trust, respect, and love. I realized that I wasn't just heartbroken. I was furious, and that anger fueled a fire inside me that I hadn't felt before. I spent the next day in a haze of confusion and rage. I could barely focus on work, my mind drifting to thoughts of Lisa and Matt together. I couldn't shake that image out of my head, and the idea of them laughing and sharing intimate moments cut deeper than any knife. I felt like a puppet on strings, and they were the ones pulling them, making me dance to their betrayal. But I wasn't going to be a victim. I was going to take control of the situation. I decided to come up with a plan, a way to confront both of them and expose the truth. I called up my buddy Dave, who had always been in my corner. He was reliable and had a knack for getting things done. After filling him in on the situation, he was just as outraged as I was and insisted on helping me execute my plan. Let's not just confront them. Let's make sure they know the repercussions of their actions, he said. I'll help you get the evidence you need. We'll make sure Matt's fiancée finds out too. He deserves to lose everything he has. The idea of revenge felt intoxicating. I never thought I'd be the type to go down that road, but Lisa and Matt had pushed me too far. I decided that I would not only confront them but ensure they both faced the consequences of their betrayal. The first step in my plan was to gather more evidence. I knew Lisa's routine, and I had seen that she often met Matt at a local bar. I needed to catch them in the act. So the next evening I made my way to the bar, feeling both nervous and determined. I sat at the bar, nursing a drink while keeping my eyes peeled for any sign of them. After a while my heart raced as I spotted them walking in together. They were laughing, leaning closer to each other, and my blood boiled. I felt a surge of emotions, anger, betrayal, and the desire for revenge. I pulled out my phone and started recording them, capturing every intimate gesture, every laugh, every shared secret that should have been mine. It was surreal watching them from a distance. Lisa looked radiant, like she had stepped out of a fairy tale, while Matt's charm seemed to radiate through the dim light of the bar. I could feel the knot in my stomach tightening as I recorded them. This betrayal had gone on long enough, and I wanted to make sure I had the proof I needed to expose them both. As the evening wore on, I couldn't help but notice how carefree they were, completely unaware of the storm that was brewing just outside their little bubble. Eventually, they settled into a booth, leaning in close, whispering sweet nothings to each other. It was sickening, and I fought the urge to leap across the room and confront them right then and there. But I had to stick to the plan. I recorded for nearly an hour, capturing every laugh and touch. I knew that the more I had, the better the fallout would be. Once I felt satisfied, I slipped out of the bar, my heart racing with anticipation. With the evidence safely on my phone, I reached out to Matt's fiancée, Emily, who I had known for several years. She was a sweet girl, completely unaware of the deception that was happening behind her back. I hesitated for a moment. Did I really want to be the bearer of such painful news? But then I remembered Lisa and Matt's betrayal. They deserved to face the consequences of their actions. I sent Emily a message asking if we could meet up. I kept it vague, trying to avoid raising any suspicions. When she agreed, I felt a mix of guilt and determination. I was about to drop a bombshell that would shatter her world, but it was necessary. I needed her to see the truth. The next day, we met at a local cafe. I could see her sunny demeanor as she greeted me, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. We made small talk, and I could sense her excitement as she talked about her upcoming wedding with Matt, oblivious to the storm brewing in the background. Then came the moment of truth. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Emily, I need to tell you something about Matt," I began, watching her expression go from curiosity to concern. "What is it? Is something wrong?" she asked, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. "Look, I don't want to hurt you, but I think you deserve to know the truth. I've seen some things that I can't ignore." I pulled out my phone and showed her the video of Lisa and Matt together. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she watched, and I could see the realization dawning on her face. No, this can't be happening. They would. "I'm so sorry to have to show you this," I said, feeling a mix of empathy and vindication. "But you need to know, they're cheating on both of us." She looked pale, her hands shaking as she scrolled through the video again, processing the betrayal. "I can't believe this. I thought he loved me." "Clearly, he doesn't respect you," I replied, feeling a pang of sympathy for her. "You deserve better than this." As she sat there, tears streaming down her face, I felt another wave of anger wash over me. They both were going to feel the repercussions of their actions, and I wasn't done yet. The emotional roller coaster was far from over. What would happen next? How would Lisa react when she found out I had exposed their affair? After that devastating meeting with Emily, I felt a strange mix of exhilaration and guilt. I had given her a chance to confront the man who had betrayed her, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being in the middle of a storm, watching the chaos unfold. I left the cafe feeling like I had taken a decisive step in my plan, but I also knew the fallout was just beginning. Emily was determined to confront Matt, and I could only hope she'd do it soon. The sooner she confronted him, the quicker the truth would come crashing down on both him and Lisa. I needed to stay focused on my own next move. I couldn't let my emotions distract me now. I had to remain resolute. When I finally returned home, I found Lisa in the living room, scrolling through her phone, completely unaware of the whirlwind I had set in motion. For a moment, I considered confronting her right then and there, but I decided to bide my time. I knew the whole situation would come to a head soon enough, and I wanted to be ready for it. The following evening, while I was watching TV, my phone buzzed with a text from Emily. I confronted Matt. I can't believe it. He didn't deny it. I'm devastated. My heart sank as I read her words. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but at the same time I couldn't ignore the satisfaction of knowing Matt was finally facing the consequences of his actions. I felt like I was finally gaining control over my life again. But the real shocker was yet to come. Just after I finished reading Emily's message, the front door swung open and Lisa walked in, her face pale and eyes wide. I could sense something was off. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "About what?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual though my heart raced. "About Matt," she snapped, her composure cracking. "I know you've been up to something and I want the truth." "Do you really?" I replied, crossing my arms, "because I can assure you I have nothing to hide." She took a deep breath, visibly shaking. "I talked to Emily. She told me you showed her those videos." For a moment, I felt a shiver of satisfaction at the thought of her finding out what I had done. "Well, you can't say you didn't deserve it," I shot back, unable to restrain myself. "You brought this on yourself, Lisa." Her face contorted into a mix of anger and desperation. "You had no right to do that. You're just trying to ruin my life," she yelled, her voice rising with each word. "Ruin your life? You did that all by yourself when you decided to cheat on me with my best friend." I yelled back, the tension between us crackling like static in the air. Lisa's expression shifted from anger to vulnerability, and for a second I could see the cracks in her facade. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, her voice breaking. "I was confused and I thought it was just a fling." "A fling?" I scoffed. "You think that makes it any better? You've been carrying on behind my back and you think I'm just going to sit here and let it slide." "I was lonely, Jake. You never paid attention to me anymore. It was just, I don't know, things got out of hand." She pleaded, her eyes filling with tears. "Spare me the excuses," I said coldly, my heart hardening. "You made your choices and now you have to face the consequences." "I swear I'll break things off with him. Just please don't do this to me," she begged, her desperation palpable. I could feel my heart waver for a moment as I saw the genuine fear in her eyes, but then I remembered how easily she had betrayed me. "It's too late for that, Lisa," I said firmly. "You've already broken the trust we built together." As I looked at her, I realized that this confrontation wasn't just about exposing her cheating, it was about reclaiming my power. I had spent so long feeling like a victim in this situation, but now I was in control. The emotions had shifted, I felt empowered, and I had the upper hand. "Maybe you should go stay with Matt," I suggested coldly. "You seem to be so comfortable with him." Her face fell as she processed my words. "You wouldn't really kick me out, would you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why not? You made your bed, now lie in it." I could see the tears spilling down her cheeks, but I felt no pity for her. I had spent too long trying to understand her feelings while neglecting my own. Now it was time for me to focus on what I needed. Lisa stood up, defeated, her shoulders slumping as she muttered something under her breath about needing time to think. "This isn't over, Jake," she said as she walked toward the door. "Make sure you're ready for it because I'm not backing down," I replied, my voice steady, though my heart was pounding. As she left the room, I felt a wave of clarity wash over me. I had taken the first step towards reclaiming my life, and now I wasn't going to stop until I had ensured both Lisa and Matt faced the full brunt of their betrayal. The aftermath of this confrontation was still looming, but I was ready for whatever came next. I knew I had to confront Matt, and I was determined to make sure he lost everything he had, just as I had. After Lisa left the house, I felt a mixture of triumph and confusion swirling within me. I had stood my ground and confronted her. I felt like I had finally taken a step towards reclaiming my life, but I knew that the real showdown was still to come, confronting Matt. It was time for me to make sure he understood the full weight of his actions. The next day, I decided to pay him a visit, not just as a confrontation but as a reckoning. I wanted to catch him off guard, to show him that he couldn't hide from the consequences of his betrayal. I called Dave and asked him to come along for support. He was more than willing, and it felt good to have someone in my corner. When we arrived at Matt's apartment, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Dave parked the car and we sat there for a moment, gathering our thoughts. "You ready for this?" he asked, giving me an encouraging nod. Ready as I'll ever be, I replied, taking a deep breath. Let's do this. We walked up to his door and I knocked hard, the sound echoing down the hallway. I heard some shuffling inside before the door swung open, and there stood Matt, looking casual and relaxed, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit him. "Jake, what's up, man?" he said, his smile dropping as he noticed Dave standing next to me. "Can we come in?" I asked, my voice steady. Yeah, sure," he replied, stepping aside. The moment we stepped inside, I could feel the tension in the air. Matt's apartment was a reflection of him, messy, full of half-finished projects and a strong smell of takeout. I turned to him, my anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "We need to talk," I stated, my voice low and even. "About what?" he asked, trying to maintain a casual demeanor, though I could see the flicker of concern in his eyes. "You know damn well what," I said, my voice rising slightly. "About you and Lisa." Matt's expression shifted from confusion to defensiveness. "What are you talking about? There's nothing going on between us." "Don't lie to my face," I shot back, unable to contain the anger that surged through me. "I have proof, Matt. I've seen the messages. I know everything." The color drained from his face as he processed my words, and I could see the gears turning in his mind. The bravado he usually carried with him began. "Wayne, look, Jake, it's not what you think. We were just what, having fun behind my back? That's your excuse," I interrupted, feeling a rush of adrenaline. "You've betrayed me, Matt, and you've betrayed Emily. She deserves so much better than this." "I didn't mean for it to happen," he stammered, his defenses crumbling. It just happened. "Just happened," I echoed, incredulous. "You think that makes it okay? You think it's acceptable to cheat on your fiancée with my wife?" Okay, just calm down. Let's talk about this rationally," he pleaded, his voice shaky. "I'm done talking rationally," I shot back. "You need to understand the consequences of your actions. You're not just hurting me, you're hurting her too, and I can guarantee that this isn't going to end well for you." "What do you mean?" he asked, a hint of panic creeping into his voice. "I've already talked to Emily, and you should know that she's devastated," I said, relishing in the way his face paled further. "She deserves to know the truth, and I'm not going to let you get away with this." Matt opened his mouth to protest, but I cut him off. "You think you can just play with people's lives and not face the music? You're about to lose everything, Matt. Your job, your fiancé, everything you've built. You did this to yourself." He stared at me, eyes wide with disbelief. You can't do this." But I was already done with the pleasantries. "I can and I will," I replied firmly. "You've messed with the wrong person, and now you'll find out what it really means to betray someone." Dave, who had been standing quietly beside me, stepped forward. "You've put Jake in a position where he has to fight for his dignity, Matt. Don't think for a second that we're going to let you slip away unscathed." Matt looked between us, realization dawning on him. "You're both being irrational. You won't get away with this." "Get away with what?" I interrupted. "Exposing you for the coward you are. You're the one who should be worried about what's coming next." I could see the wave of panic wash over him. For a moment he looked defeated, as if he finally understood the magnitude of what he had done. "Please, let's just talk this out. I can still make things right," he pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "This isn't about talking it out anymore, Matt. It's about facing the reality of your choices," I said, my voice cold and unyielding. "You've lost my friendship and you've lost your chance with Emily. You can't charm your way out of this." As I turned to leave, I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. I knew I had delivered the message loud and clear. Matt was going to pay for his betrayal. He had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and the consequences were about to unfold. As Dave and I walked back to the car, I felt lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I had confronted both Lisa and Matt, and while the aftermath was still looming, I was ready to face whatever came next. I could feel a sense of closure beginning to settle in, but I knew there was still one final piece to this puzzle. What would happen when the truth finally hit Lisa? How would she react when she found out that I had taken control and exposed both her and Matt? If you want me to wrap up this story, let me know. After confronting Matt, I felt a rush of adrenaline, but it was short-lived. I knew that the real challenge lay ahead, confronting Lisa again and dealing with the fallout of my actions. I spent the next few hours waiting for the inevitable storm to hit. I couldn't predict how she would react, but I was ready for anything at this point. That evening, I sat on the couch, replaying the day's events in my mind. I was still riding the high of my confrontation with Matt, but the reality of what lay ahead pressed heavily on me. I needed to prepare for Lisa's return. When the door opened, I barely looked up, but I could feel her presence in the room. Lisa stepped inside, her face a mixture of anger and confusion as she noticed my steely demeanor. "You need to explain what you did," she demanded, her voice sharp and accusatory. "I already did, Lisa. I showed Emily the truth," I replied, my tone calm and measured. "She deserves to know what kind of person you've been." Her face flushed with anger as she took a step closer, trying to assert her dominance. "You had no right to get involved in my life like that. This is between us." "Between us?" I echoed, incredulous. "You mean you and Matt, or do you mean between you and your betrayal? Because that's what this really is." "I thought we could work through this," she yelled, her eyes flashing with fury. "You're just making things worse." "Worse?" I shot back. "You think it could get worse than cheating on me? You've already destroyed any chance of working things out. You chose to betray me with my best friend." As the confrontation escalated, I felt the tension crackle in the air. Lisa's facade of confidence began to crumble, and I could see the vulnerability beneath her anger. "I was lonely, Jake," she admitted, her voice shaking. "I thought you didn't want me anymore." "Lonely? You had a choice," I said, my anger simmering but focused. "You chose to cheat instead of talking to me. You could have come to me. But you decided to go behind my back." "I didn't think it would get this far," she protested, tears welling in her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you like this." "But you did," I replied, my heart aching for the woman I once loved, but my resolve remained strong. "You made your choices. Now you have to face the consequences." The silence that fell between us was heavy, each of us processing the weight of our words. Finally, Lisa broke down, her sobs echoing through the living room. "I'm so sorry, Jake. I never wanted to lose you." "Then you shouldn't have acted like this," I said firmly, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. "It's too late for apologies. You've hurt not just me but Emily too. Do you even realize how much pain you've caused?" "Yes, I know. I'm an idiot. I messed up," she cried, her hands clutching her head in despair. "What do I have to do to fix this?" "Fix this? You can't just fix it with some words or promises. Trust is broken, and I can't just pretend everything is okay." I said, my voice steady but strained. "You need to take responsibility for your actions." As I stood there watching her cry, I felt an unexpected wave of empathy wash over me. I had once loved this woman deeply, but now I recognized the depth of betrayal. "Maybe it's time for both of us to take a step back and really think about what we want," I said, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Are you saying you want to end this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I think it's for the best," I replied, feeling a bittersweet pain at the thought of letting go. "I can't be with someone who has broken my trust so completely." "Jake, please," she started, but I cut her off. "Don't plead. You had your chance. I need to focus on myself now." As I walked away, leaving her in the living room, I felt a mixture of relief and grief. This was the closure I needed. I had taken control of my life, and now it was time to move forward without the burden of betrayal weighing me down. In the following weeks, I focused on healing. I started attending therapy sessions to process everything that had happened and leaned on my friends for support. Dave was there for me every step of the way, ensuring I didn't feel alone. He even encouraged me to get back into hobbies I had neglected over the years. Slowly, I began to rediscover myself. As for Lisa and Matt, I kept my distance. I heard through mutual friends that they were struggling. Emily had moved out and broken things off with Matt, and Lisa was left to face the reality of her choices alone. I felt a flicker of sadness for the person Lisa once was, but I knew I had made the right decision. Months later, I found myself in a better place. I had started dating again, cautiously optimistic about love. I had learned valuable lessons about trust, communication, and the importance of standing up for oneself. Looking back, I realized that this experience had changed me. I was no longer the man who would allow betrayal to define my life. I had faced the storm and come out stronger on the other side. In a strange way, I was grateful for the journey. As I reflect on My advice to anyone facing similar challenges is to hold on to your self-worth. It's easy to feel lost in betrayal, but never forget that you deserve love and respect, always. Life moves on and so can you. And that's how I turned heartbreak into strength.